All right, great to have you in. Mark Schlereth did the Giants-Cardinals game, which I watched in its entirety. It was basically 2 games. And Mark Schlereth, 3 rings, 2-time Pro Bowler, Fox Sports, joining us live. That was one of the craziest games I've ever seen. I don't even know what to make of it. I do think there is some... I mean, in your career, have you ever had a game like that where you literally... It was 2 different football games entirely. Have you ever played in a game like that in your career?
Yeah, it's interesting because the Giants came back from an 18-point deficit, and it's the first time it was ridiculous, like 100 years or whatever it was, that they have come back from that kind of deficit in the fourth quarter. I had a game that we played in Detroit when I was with Washington where we were down 18 in the fourth, and we came back and won that game in overtime, and I think we had 60 snaps offensively between the fourth quarter and overtime. So, I mean, it was just like we did nothing. We did nothing for 3 quarters and then 60 snaps. It was ridiculous. So, yeah, I've had a few of those games. That game was, like you said, a tale of 2 different games. I will say this about the Cardinals. For all the people out there that are saying, hey, they were tanking and this, that, and the other, they are playing so hard. And I know they've got some limited talent at the quarterback position and some other places, but man, they are playing hard for Jonathan Gannon. It's a testament to them, their organization, and the way they've been coached and the way they're laying on the line because they have played that way. They have played with passion.
So you're on a very popular radio show in Denver, and I said there's 2 different ways to look at Russell Wilson. One of them, the positive way is this, is that you ask Sean Payton to do 3 things: change the culture. That takes a while. Fix the O-line. They're trying, but nobody plays in the preseason, so that's going to take another month. And get Russell Wilson right. And I could say this, Mark, his first halves have been excellent, and so they're making progress with Russell Wilson. That's my positive spin. He's good on script. He's more accurate. He's lost weight. If you gave that argument to your audience in Denver, would they buy it that we're on our way and we're close and there is progress?
No, because I've given that to my Denver audience, and they don't care. They're on the hey, I'm with you, win or tie, and we're not winning. So they don't like Russ. They don't like his act. They don't like, and maybe it's not an act, but that's the perception. They don't like it, and they're not winning. They scored 16 points in the first game. It's not enough. And then they shut down in the second half. They had scored 6 points up to the point where they throw the Hail Mary for a touchdown. So yeah, they're not buying into it. And the bottom line is you look at this offense right now, more points per drive than any offense in the National Football League. Because remember, in the 16-point affair, week 1 against the Raiders, they only had the ball 6 times.
Yeah.
And so, ultimately it's a defensive issue, not being able to get off the field, not being able to stop them on critical drives. They haven't been able to do that here in Denver, but nobody's talking about that. Everybody's just, they're storming the castle with pitchforks and lanterns, trying to go after Russ. And he has played better. There has been more continuity. He has gotten rid of the ball. He has been accurate. He's done all those things, but it's not good enough. And, the flashback to last week, taking 7 sacks and everything else, everybody's going to put it on Russ until he goes out there and performs and until they win a game.
So, Dave Wannstedt, who we both know, said when he coached the Bears or the Dolphins, he said you can lose 2 games in a row. If you lose a third, you can lose the locker room. And so now, even in Los Angeles, which is a pretty chill market, the Chargers are not a top marquee franchise. Brandon Staley's getting heat. Go to your career. The difference between a 2-game losing streak and you didn't have a lot because you were on good teams. But that one stat always says you go to 3 and guys start splitting off, especially early in the year. Do you think we could have not a mutiny, but could it go sideways if you experienced that?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. If you start losing multiple games, you start losing 3, 4 in a row, then you start looking at all the little things that creep in that cost you games. It comes down to, hey, we got the play in late, so we had to hustle up the line of scrimmage. We couldn't, read the defense first. You're looking at things like that, like time management, play calls, getting the play in on time, giving us a chance to get up and get a pre-snap look, all the things that bad teams don't do well. But you look at the Chargers, I mean, like they're scoring points. They're putting it together. It's just the Chargers. They have a propensity, like I always say, Chargers going to Charger. They'll find a way to lose a game. And ultimately, that's the culture that has to be changed. And Brandon Staley is going to be the guy on the hot seat for that. And I'm with Dave Wanstead. You lose 3 in a row, and guys in that locker room are going to be like, what are we doing? We're too talented. We're scoring too many points, and we're giving ourselves a chance to win every single game, and we can't come away with a win. By the way, you look at the 2 losses. They lose to the Titans 27-24, and they lose the previous week in a tight one with a big scoring affair to Tua and the Miami Dolphins. And Brandon Staley comes from the defensive side of the football. So your offense is performing. Your defense is not performing. Your defense is not getting critical stops. So yeah, I think the heat is on there in Charger land.
So this is really a question that you're one of the few people, I think, at Fox that would answer accurately because of your offensive line experience. So after week 1, Mark, 10 of the 11, according to PFF, 10 of the 11 highest graded O-lines, offensive head coaches. Bottom of the league, almost all defensive coaches. McVay, Andy Reid. I've seen them in an off-season fix the O-line. McDermott can't get it right in Buffalo. Mike Tomlin can't get it right in Pittsburgh. Chicago can't get it right with a defensive coach. There is something here. I do not believe it's a coincidence that these young quarterbacks, Brock Purdy, Tua, they're just better when they've got an offensive guy fixing the O-line. I mean, I look at New England's O-line. Feels like it's without Brady, it's regressed. Just take me inside the O-line. I watched Pittsburgh last night. This is 5-6 years now with Tomlin. They can't get it right. What is it?
Yeah. What's interesting, Colin, is offensive line, the play of offensive line. And I always say we're like a secret mushroom society. The only people who know what we're doing is us in that room, right? And even your head coach doesn't necessarily know exactly what you're doing and how you get things done. They just want those things done. And I think what happens and what people need to understand is your offense's ability to dominate a line of scrimmage and to really play well comes down to this. Who is your play caller and how many tools do you give us as a play caller? So great offensive line play is predicated not only on the players that you have and the scheme that you're running, but more importantly on the plays that are being called. It's if you have a play caller that doesn't understand our problems and how difficult that position is, it's the hardest position in football. To me, it's the most skilled position in football because think about this. Give me one other position or one other sport where unlike athletes match up and the guy who is the lesser athlete is expected to win 100% of the battles. There isn't one.
Yeah.
A heavyweight boxer doesn't box against a flyweight. When a 6'3" point guard blows by a 7'2" center, you don't say we gotta can that center. He's no good. You say, hey, they got us in a matchup and a switch. But I'm a lesser athlete than you, and I'm expected to win 100% of the battles. And if I give up one sack, you go to the Pro Bowl, and they're looking to replace me. And so from a play calling standpoint, you've got to give me weapons. You've got to give me an opportunity to get through 3-step drop where I'm attacking. You've got to give me plenty of run where I can set a tone. Then all of a sudden, if you give me that stuff, we can throw a 5-step drop that's going to be like all go, something that gets out of there quick. And I can attack you in the run game, even though it's a passing game. And you have to respect that as a defensive lineman. And now all of a sudden, I'm dictating what I call taking the passive out of pass protection. And that's a play caller's responsibility to do that for me. It's like when you don't have those things, it's like saying, hey, man, can you build me this deck? We need this beautiful deck on the back of my house so we can enjoy the sunshine, so we can barbecue and grill out and everything else. But I'm not going to give you a saw, and I'm not going to give you a level, and I'm not going to give you any nails. I'm just going to give you a hammer. So go build me a deck. You're like, well, I can't build a deck with just a hammer. I need all the other tools to be able to put a deck together that's reliable and that's sturdy and that can hold the weight of guests and everything else. And so when you have a guy that's on a defensive side, I don't think he truly oftentimes understands the issues that we have up front. And a guy that's a play caller that really understands those issues is calling plays based on that because he knows that that's the spine of a football team. That offensive line is the spine, and you can't do anything without a strong spine.
Finally, you have the Lions this week, so they beat Kansas City on the road. They lose to Seattle at home. You're starting to look at film in a minute to 90 seconds. What are the Lions, overhyped or just a bad week against the Hawks?
No, I think the Lions are a really good football team. Now, the Hawks come in there with two backup offensive tackles, and they don't sniff a pressure on Geno Smith, and that's got to change. You know, everybody wants to talk about the back end getting beat by three really good receivers, starting receivers. But the bottom line, if you don't get pressure on the opponent's quarterback, I don't care who you are, you can't cover for 4 seconds in this league. So that's an issue. The Lions are physical. The Lions they have a great offensive line. Now, David Montgomery has a thigh bruise, so it looks like he's going to be out. That's a big loss for them. But I'll tell you, you want to watch a guy play like one of the best players in the National Football League right now, bar none, bar position, is Penei Sewell. Watch that guy. He got flipped from right tackle over to left tackle and just dispensed justice at the left tackle position. I tell you what, to be able to make that switch, it's so hard because everything goes backwards. It's like saying to a right-handed batter, hey, I know that you're a right-handed batter. You're not a switch hitter. And this is the 9th inning, and it's a critical game. Why don't you take this bat from the left side? This at-bat, it is so hard to do that. And he flipped sides and just, like I said, just dispensed justice. So he's a fun guy to watch. Detroit's legit. They're a legit football team.
Mark Schlereth, 3 rings, Fox Sports, Falcons at the Lions, Sunday 1 Eastern on Fox, my friend. Good O-line stuff. I knew you'd deliver, plus Denver and the Broncos. Nobody at this network knows it like you. Good seeing you, Mark. Hi, everybody. Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from The Herd or go watch a few segments from other shows on FS1.